Welcome back to Benton Homestead. Today we are going to clean up Evan's wood shop and get it transformed back into honey production facility, because guess what? Tomorrow is the first day of a multi-day citrus blossom honey harvest. Evan has a few more things to build, but he has them all cut on the saw already, so we can go ahead and clean up. We're going to vacuum up all this sawdust, get it nice and clean and ready to go for tomorrow morning. This is our recent delivery of honey jars.
Alrighty, squeaky clean and ready for the harvest tomorrow.
Today is the first day of a multi-day citrus blossom honey harvest. As you can see, the honeybees here are super active. It's basically a honeybee highway here going over my head as they go out and forage on the citrus blossoms and bring the delicious honey back here to the hive. Since I've been working pretty much full-time at the guest house and Evan has taken over full-time responsibility of the honeybee health hive checks every 4 days, he has been the one monitoring all of this, and he ensures me that these upper boxes, which are called honey supers, are pretty much completely full. We are a little bit nervous to see how this goes. We're going to be doing it in phases. This is by far our very biggest honey harvest ever. Our first 3 harvests here in Japan and our previous harvests back in Louisiana were much smaller. We only had a few colonies at that time, and we're only dealing with, about 60 jars of honey.
So this one's me, number 1's me, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 6.
Since we have a video meeting this afternoon, which is pretty exciting, with a potential opportunity to be on Japanese TV, we're only going to harvest 20 frames right now, so we have time to take them back to the workshop, spin them out, and then bring them back to the bees before our meeting. Evan says this colony is his favorite queen, although sometimes they are a little bit feisty. He says they're being nice today.
Now the reason this is my favorite queen is that I see her almost every inspection. And that's not a requirement of inspecting. People think you have to always look for the queen. You don't. It just takes a lot of time. If there's eggs, chances are there's a queen. But I always see her, and she's always just going about her business and ignoring me. So I think that's a good sign that she's a very gentle queen that's used to being handled. And this colony is producing a lot of honey, as you can see. And since I'm really concerned with breeding here, I've already used this queen to re-queen several of my hives that have had problems. Now, beekeeping in Japan has some added challenges as compared to North America or Europe. So you'll notice that I'm going through each box and inspecting each frame individually instead of just taking the entire box at a time. And I'm also taking the frames before they're fully capped. And that's going to depend on each type of honey that they're bringing in. But for citrus, when it gets about to this point, I know that the sugar content is sufficient that it's not going to spoil. So this is ready to harvest.
Due to time constraints of our meeting today, and also just the fact that we are already planning to do this in phases, we harvested from the first 4 of 10 colonies at bee yard number 1. We're going to head over to the workshop. Just a quick note that the way we're harvesting honey is not producing a ton of wax. Now, eventually we want to harvest comb honey, which means we actually cut the comb out of the colony. But for the time being, with our spinning method, we're able to spin the honey out, then return the empty frames back to the colonies so they don't have to rebuild all their wax. That means we're not getting a lot of wax. However, we are saving it. This is some old wax that needed to be cut out. It couldn't be used anymore by the colonies. That little disc on the bottom has gone through one process of cleaning. It needs to go through another filtration and cleaning process. Then we've got a couple of friends who've requested some beeswax. After we finish that, then it'll be on its way to you. This is a good test because we're doing this harvest in phases to see how much time it takes. So our goal for today is to be done by noon. We'll see if we can do 15 frames in the small time slot we've allotted. Now, one thing we did invest in preparation for this larger honey harvest, knowing that it could take many days and we might not get all the honey harvested, spun, and into jars all in one day each time. So we did get these buckets to hold them overnight if necessary. I am a little bit disappointed that we had to get plastic buckets, but all the metal buckets with spigots at the bottom on the Japanese honeybee websites that we're familiar with were sold out, believe it or not. So these are the buckets that we have for now.
Another thing we do here in Japan that I don't think they do in Europe or North America, although most of my limited beekeeping experience is just in Japan, is that we are going to be harvesting some frames that still have some brood on them. So here at the top of the frame, this is capped honey, and in the middle, this is capped brood, and we're going to uncap the honey and leave these brood, these larvae be, pun intended. And I have this frame marked, and I'm going to put this back in the colony right after I'm done spinning it.
Well, Evie went to return the frames that we spun all the honey out of. I started cleaning these buckets, and I thought I should probably test to make sure if they're waterproof. And it's a good thing that I did, because this one seems to have a small leak. All right, we just wrapped our online meeting with the TV producer. That went really well. Nothing is official yet, so I can't tell you any more details, but we're feeling very excited today. What I'm doing here is a second filtration pass. We're pouring it through the filter from one bucket into another bucket. On the scale here, this first round of harvest is just barely over our entire Sakura cherry blossom honey harvest. This is only from 4 colonies, and all 4 of those colonies had more frames that weren't ready to harvest yet. This is going to be a huge harvest. Fingers crossed. Most of the frames that we harvested today were pure honey. This one was mixed with a few capped brood cells. We've got some babies being born right now. Welcome to the world, baby bee. Let's get you back home to your colony. Oh. All right, second round, day 1. This one is even more honey from only 13 frames. Day 2 of citrus honey blossom harvest. Evan has gone out to collect some more frames from the final number 10 of 10 colonies at Honeybee Yard 1, and I took that time to jar up our first batch. It didn't take very long. Since I was doing this by myself for the first time, I decided to start with our biggest jars. That means fewer jars, fewer opportunities to spill honey on the jars, and fewer labels to have to put on. So yesterday we harvested just enough honey for 1 full box, 24 1,000 gram jars. Cleanup was also super easy because I spread some newspaper out, so any little honey drips were caught. So I'll take this box of honey into my office, and hopefully Evan will be here soon with some more frames to process. Here we are at Honeybee Yard number 2, which is my favorite photogenic bee yard. I just think it's so nice out here underneath the trees. We get to work in the shade, and of course the bees just love it out here. We've got quite a few colonies, up to 3 boxes. This is our only colony that's made it up to 4 boxes. They are also the only colony here at this bee yard that is always consistently grumpy. They'll be getting a new queen later this year. This is what it looks like to go through a 3-box colony. We're going through frame by frame. Evan is also doing his hive health checks, which this time of year he does every 4 days. These ladies are nice and calm. I'm standing in front of a row of hives, right in front of their entrance, so they are flying all around me, because they are very active out there still collecting more citrus blossom honey. After we finish our first round of harvesting from all 25 colonies, that's 10 from our other bee yard and 15 from here, that will be what we consider phase 1 of the citrus honey blossom harvest. We'll go through one more time, either in 4 days or in 8 days. But since we're figuring out our method as we go, there's no problem with doing it little by little. And every frame that we harvest from now is one less frame that we have to keep inspecting during the hive health checks. So getting these colonies a little bit smaller by harvesting honey in stages can actually be beneficial. For example, this box here, which is going to be the 3rd one that goes on top, this is all honey that's just not ready to harvest yet. It's taken us a while because these 3 colonies here that only have 1 box, they each have a bit of a complicated hive health check, and both of them seem to have some issues with their queen. So we've been taking some time to look closer at these ones.
This is one of our original colonies from last year that just barely survived the winter, and I'm not sure why. I've just been nursing them, and I should have requeened this colony long ago, but the queen finally died. She just wasn't laying eggs or anything, and I replaced her with a queen cell from my favorite colony, Colony 7, and here is the new queen. Looks like she's been mated. You can see her abdomen's a little bit bigger, and she's just starting to lay. So this will be a great colony starting next year.
Day 3. After another afternoon processing into the evening last night, I'm starting the morning off by jarring this box of honey here, and Evan is out collecting more frames to process. Alright, well, we were bound to have some hiccups somewhere, so what we are having to do is re-jar a few of these. As you can see, they've got labels on them. They were adorable, but we've had to dump them out for one more pass of the filtering. After I jarred 64 jars of delicious citrus blossom honey, we noticed that some of the jars had quite a few teeny tiny black speckles in them, which come from the smoker. When you open the beehives and you put the smoke in there, tiny pieces of ash had gotten into the honey and they were not filtered out by our current filtration system. So we were doing some thinking, why all of a sudden do a few jars have some tiny pieces of ash when we did not have this problem with our filtration system with the citrus honey last year and the cherry blossom honey earlier this spring? And we figured it out. It's because Evan has started using his wood shavings in the smoker as a way to reuse those wood shavings. And it's just a super fine particle, so therefore it's just smaller than our current filtration system can filter out. So we're going to do 2 things moving forward. First is we're going to use this gauze, which will be even finer than our mesh, until we can get a finer mesh strainer ordered. That might take a little while. And Evan is not going to reuse his wood shavings in the smoker moving forward. This bucket here is full, and we're filtering through the new filter setup. It's going a little slower, which means it's filtering out those fine ash particles from the smoker. Welcome to day 4 honey harvest. We did not expect it to extend to 4 days, but here we are. I'm starting the day off by filtering this entire bucket. This 5-gallon bucket was filled yesterday. That means day 3 we produced more honey than day 1 and 2. As with many things, we're learning as we go, and it just gets easier and easier as we figure things out and slowly buy more equipment to meet our needs. All right, friends, fast forward 1 day. This is the beginning of day 5. I just got the last of the honey into these jars. I'm going to get the labels put on them, and then I'll bring you along to do our inventory. Welcome to my office. In case you can't tell, I have actually done a little bit of cleaning in here in preparation for all the organization I would need to do with these honey jars. We just took 45 jars down to the Tatada Michinoeki this morning. The rest of these boxes and that one crate behind are all full of glorious, delicious, slightly orange-tasting citrus blossom honey. As always, thanks for coming along on this adventure with us. I think it's safe to say at this point that I did get confirmation from that very important meeting that I mentioned earlier. We are going to be having a film crew come out and film our honeybee farm for a small feature on NHK later this week. So what that means is that honey will be available locally for the time being, but I am holding off on putting our website honey shopping cart live. I'm going to put that off for 1 week just because I wouldn't have time to box and ship orders, and I don't want anyone to have to wait for their honey orders. So that's going to be delayed by 1 week. Of course, I'm going to let everyone know when I get that live, hopefully early next week following the release of this video. So wish us luck. I'm very nervous and very excited, but this could be great for us and for honey sales and possibly even for our guest house. So thank you. A lot of this is thanks to all of you and your interaction with our videos and our media that's online. So thank you so much for your constant encouragement and support, joining us on our live streams and everything that you do to share our videos. It seems to be gaining some traction and we're getting some attention, this time from NHK, which is very exciting. So that being said, we've got a lot of work to do to get ready for the film crew coming out. We will see you in the next video.